Just got this at an antique store today. This is a Perfex 44. Haven't done a ton of research on them yet, but from what I've read, this is circa about 1939. It's got a graph Perfex and a stigmat 2.8 50 millimeter, although it's written as f 5.0 centimeter lens on it. It is a range finder, and yeah, this one is in some sorry shape. It almost fully functions, so I'm just going to do an initial run through of it, and I intend to attempt a restoration of it in the future. But first, just a rundown of where it stands now and what it is, because I could only find about 3 videos about Perfex cameras on YouTube. Almost all of them were in other languages, and I think only one of them was about the 44. The rest of them were about the 55, the 33, and I believe the Deluxe. But, so, first of all, this is how we open the back. We've got 2 locking lugs here. We do have a tripod mount, which is nice. The back slides down to open. We have a very standard spring-loaded focusing plane. Nothing else special on the back. We do have 2 cups here to hold the canister and the take-up spool. And managed to get this thing, lucky for me, at Antiques and Uniques in Wickliffe, Ohio for $14.48. I don't expect to find a deal like that ever again. This one clearly has some corrosion. It's going to need some attention. But these have a cloth shutter, and these are, I heard somebody say, taking inspiration from the Leica in this, in that the way that they do their film advance rotates the shutter knob as well. Let me set this to there. That's a 25th of a second. So you can lift the film counter and rotate it to 0 it when you put in a new roll of film. You similarly lift and rotate to adjust your shutter speed. And when you advance your film, both knobs rotate together. Your shutter knob will rotate 360 degrees and end up back where you began. That was weird. I thought I had it set to 20. Yep, okay. Whereas the your film counter knob will rotate 370 degrees in order to land on the next indication. So currently it says 1, and it over rotates by 10 degrees to indicate 2. Lucky for me, this one on the fast, so it has 2 shutter speed ranges. We've got fast, we've got slow. Fast consists of bulb mode 1/25th, 1/50th, 1/100th, 1/200th, 1/500th, and 1/1250th, 1250th. It's 1/25th, and here is 1/1250th. Can't honestly tell if there's a large difference between those. Not from my eye though. We'll see if the video shows it. Our rewind knob is here. I have not yet figured out how to unlock the take-up spool so that the rewind knob can do its job, although it appears, so the take-up spool rotates this way, and I can, with some resistance, rotate the splines the other way. So it may simply be clutched. I'm not sure. I unfortunately do not have a take-up spindle, so I'll have to 3D print one, or maybe I can just use the spindle from a 35mm cassette. I'm not sure yet. These cameras also have a slow range, which consists of 1/10, 1/5, 1/2, and 1 second. And if you listen, you will hear as I advance this that you are winding up a clockwork spring in there. And here's 1 second. Doesn't quite make it across. So I believe there is old oil gummed up inside this. Let's try it at 1/10. Yeah. So, and this is really common from what I've read and seen, that the slow speeds all end up hanging up before they get all the way across. So I'm going to try cleaning this, re-lubricating it, and seeing what if that tidies it up. I believe that's all we care about on the inside at the moment. I'm still not sure. So this is our slow fast range. This one says T and R, and I'm still not certain what that means. Gonna have to try and find a manual and read up on that. But we're gonna lock this up. We'll take a look at our lens. To remove the lens, well, first of all, you can remove just part of the lens by rotating left normal threads. And that will remove strictly the lens. However, this is also part of the lens. This is what does the actual focusing. The threads into the body are doing the focusing. You may be able to see as I spin this in and out. Let me rotate it, yeah, this way. That just like normal threads, but there are stops at either end so that you can't go too far. To remove this, I've found there is, right down in here, that little lug. And you probably won't be able to see this well, but if you push that lug down, then you'll be able to rotate past this stop and that stop. Once you've done that, and this is reverse threads, remember, you'll be able to rotate it completely off. This one also, not sure how well you'll be able to see, is extremely caked up with old gummed up oil on the threads. Can't say why anyone would have oiled up the threads that much, but I believe that probably saved it from corrosion. One thing to be aware of, and it just happened here, is that that locking lug is not held in by anything except for the lens that we just removed. It is simply a spring and a lug that sit inside a hole here. As for the lens, because this is our focusing mechanism, the lens contains no focusing, it only contains our aperture. Let's see what I can show you of that. Despite the rough shape that the rest of the camera is in, the aperture on this moves absolutely immaculately. And I believe the glass is clear. I'm going to clean it in a moment to see. So I'm really hoping there's no fungus and that it only has a dusty front and rear that I can clean. I would like to try to remove this front ring and maybe attempt to straighten this out. But aside from that, I believe that the lens really only needs cosmetic cleanup, but let's see how well I can. Let me take the one moment, get you more light here. There we go. That's better. Really beautiful little piece. Graph Perfex Anastigmat. I'm gonna have to look up the definition of that. 128 f 5.0 centimeter. It also says on the side here, General Scientific Corp, Chicago, USA. This entire camera was built in Chicago. And then of course we have our, am I being blind? There we go. Our actual aperture markings here. We got 2.8, 3.5, 4.5, 5.6, 9, 11, 16, 22. And I've found that you can actually get a slight amount of rotation past 22, but then it feels like it sticks. I believe that's the aperture blades actually deflecting. So I'm going to be careful only to rotate it to 22. Got a couple set screws here. This might be a relatively easy lens to disassemble, but I'm going to attempt to avoid disassembling it if I can. Really beautiful little piece. I believe it's a 22 blade. Let's see if we can count those. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Where did I get 22? 12 blade, not 22. Let's see, any other details on, oh yeah, let's take a look at, so this right here appears to be how you set your exposure. I have not read up on the use of this style of exposure metering. I'm not sure whether you just choose the one that is exposed how you want or whether you choose the dimmest one that is still legible. But you then take that letter down to this exposure chart, and I'll have to clean this up, and you would rotate. It's really gummy, so I'm gonna have to clean that up as best I can. You would take that letter and match it to, let's see, how does this work? Exposure time in seconds. I am not familiar with this yet, but it looks like, yes, here we go. You would take your film speed, it goes all the way up to 1,000, match that to your shutter speed, or match it to your aperture speed. Basically use this whole exposure chart here. I really wish it would rotate better, but I'm gonna have to, this is rusted over completely, this rivet is, so I'm probably just going to remove that rivet entirely and replace this. We have our viewfinder. Let me see if I can get you a good view through that. Not really, can I? Not with this current camera setup. And your actual rangefinder here, which is a split focusing just like the other, but don't have the lens on right now. This also has a hot shoe, although from what I've read, these were not the most accurately timed, so it was recommended that you use a slow flash bulb in order to ensure that your subject is lit when the shutter is open. Here's a better view of those dials. So let me just set this to 0, and we'll set this to 1/100th. We'll advance that all the way around. Now we indicate 1, and we're still at, oh. So this is one annoyance that I've heard people voice, is that on the fast end of our shutter speeds here, our shutter speeds are so close together that it can be difficult to select your desired speed. And I can understand that. frame 2, 1/100th. Oops, forgot I closed it. That was weird. Maybe I didn't have it fully advanced. It really is interesting. It doesn't sound like a standard shutter when it's in these higher speeds. It sounds like a singular movement. Beautiful little piece. I've got some corrosion to clean up and lots of paint to clean up. We've even got, I don't know if these were chromed steel or what. Some of them were, yeah, I believe this was a die-cast aluminum actually is what I read. The 55s were apparently a polished stainless, I believe, from what I've seen. I also have faith that disassembly is going to be relatively easy due to the set screws that are visible on almost every single one of these top knobs, and simply 3 flat heads there. I have a feeling that removing each of the knobs and the hot shoe will allow this top piece to simply lift off. I may have to remove the leather and undo another fastener. The body of it, the shutter, also just has 4 exposed flat heads. So I've got some faith that this thing is going to be relatively serviceable. Yeah, everything just needs some tender loving care. But when I do, I'm going to try to video the entire process, partly so that I can get it back together, and partly for documentation. I'm trying to get a good angle on this. Wish I was at home. I'm in a hotel room right now. There we go. Manufactured by Candid Camera Corporation of America, Chicago, USA. Design and mechanical parts. Patents applied for. Show you the markings on this as well. Because it's a rangefinder, these are just marked out in feet to subject. Really gummy old oil. I'm going to try and clean some of that up right now. There's that hole I was talking about that lug goes into. And those are real small as well. I'm still not sure what R and T are for. That's the slow and fast shutter. This isn't meant to be any kind of actually good overview. This is just my initial state of the camera when I received it. And I'm hoping I can do a decent restoration of it, though I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about the body finish. Since it's cast aluminum, I'm assuming this is a chrome plating that they applied. and underneath it may just look like this everywhere. Maybe I'll be able to polish it up, and I'll obviously put a fresh leather on this if I can, although this definitely is not a genuine leather. And perhaps I can, oh, I don't want to damage this, so perhaps I can polish this up and then gun blue it if it's in that sorry of shape, but I'd love to do a half decent restoration of this if possible. Yeah, that's it.